big smile on your face. It's done, isn't it? Finally, both houses of the parliament, we have a regulator. All that remains now is for the president to sign the bill. Tell us, at this point in time, how is the industry and the home buyer set to benefit from here on?
Oh, a great deal. A great deal will change, Krishna, starting, when this bill comes into force. Now, remember, each state, like the minister said, each state will now have to pass a notification and bring the bill and the regulator in force in that specific state. A state could have more than one regulator if it feels the need. Two states could get together and create one regulator also, as the case may be. But, I stayed up last night reading the entire text of the bill, and there are some very interesting things. So, obviously, there were a lot of details that we already knew of, but the actual text of the bill throws up some more interesting details, like a 5-year warranty on construction, which, the developers will have to give all customers, which means that if anything cracks or breaks or leaks in your construction in the first 5 years from the date of possession, the developer has to fix it within 1 month at his own cost. That's one thing. We know the escrow account is settled at 70% and not at 50%. Okay. The other thing that's interesting is, up till now, when you paid your 20% down payment, that needed to have been done with a registered agreement. Now, that's at 10%. So the developer cannot take any more than 10% from you without registering an agreement. And here's a very, very interesting thing, which I'm sure all members of the industry, all developers will be very interested in. Krishna, remember we had this conversation about the fact that the industry was upset about the fact that there would be no regulation on local government bodies that are handing out permissions. And I'm reading this from the text of the bill, which basically says the authority can make recommendations to the government, which in this case would be the state government, for the creation of a grievance redressal mechanism against acts of omission and commission from competent authorities and their officials. So what this basically means is that the regulator can recommend to the state that a redressal mechanism be created against local bodies. This is very, very important. Now, it's buried in page 20 at the bottom of the page where we found it. It's extremely important that this recommendation is being made at all. And I'm sure industry will be very pleased when they discover it.
Clearly a historic day, Faye, and this bill will have a huge impact on the sector. So what exactly will it change based on what you've told us? To get us the builder's perspective on that, we have Geetambar Anand, the president of CREDAI National, and also Anuj Puri, chairman and country head of JLL India, joining us here live on the Property News on the phone line. First, let's take it across to Geetambar. Then, Geetambar, tell us a historic day as far as the real estate sector is concerned. Some good news in it for the sector as well, despite all the complaints they've had about RERA so far.
Yes, obviously, and we've always maintained that we always wanted a regulator. Of course, there were certain issues that we had, and we still do. Like, basically, we had just mentioned that there's good news on page 20, but on the page, and I read it as we speak, para 32. But you see, this is just, a grievance redressal mechanism. What needs to be done is that the sanctioning authorities also need to be answerable to the regulator, because suppose we make a building, which is already 80% or 90% complete, or maybe 100% complete, and we apply for a Bijli Pani connection, or it's 100% complete, and we apply for an occupancy certificate. It's sold, and we've spent all the money, we made the project, but the gentleman sitting over there just doesn't want to issue the OC in a hurry. He should be answerable to the regulator, which does not come forth in the bill. All it says is that they will recommend a grievance redressal system. Now, a grievance redressal system means that the offense has been committed, time has elapsed, people have suffered, and then you go to the redressal committee. What needed to be done was that post commencement of construction, any permission required by the sanctioning authority should be given in a time-bound manner, or 30 days. If it was not done so,
Geetambar Anand, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. There are two things I'd like to bring to your notice. One, first of all, is a conversation we had with the Housing Secretary. I did an interview with the Housing Secretary in New Delhi. She talked about how all of the ministries together are working on a building, model code, which will be used across the country. The aim is, and I don't know, how well this will be executed, but the aim at least is to provide all permissions for construction in 26 days or less. Now, while that plan is still in the works, it's a very ambitious plan, I agree. In the meantime, I'm pointing out that this is good news. I'll tell you why, because we had nothing up till now. there was no sort of even grievance redressal against local body authorities. We might have one if the recommendation is made, if the state government approves that recommendation, but at least someone is taking cognizance and thinking about it. Agreed, we have to push it a little further, but I think that just the fact that it's been mentioned in the bill at all, which it was not in the previous versions that we saw, is heartening. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree with you, but I'm again reiterating it. It needs to be done. It should have been a part of the bill also that their approvals have to be time-bound. They should have been answerable to the regulator. That, having said that, let things be as they are. But the second issue, which really is bothering us, is that ongoing projects which haven't got a completion certificate will also be, have to get themselves registered. So over here, again, I'm saying consider this an 80% completed project, which is, even 100% sold. As a developer, if I was doing a project like that, I would put it, on a go-slow mode, because I would be very, very skeptical about what kind of documentation, what kind of permissions the regulator would ask me for. Maybe I don't have, or maybe I'm not able to give a satisfactory representation to the regulator. So let me just put my project on hold. Let me first wait for the regulator to be formed. If my project is 2 years away from completion, also even then.
Right.
So this, we have been pressing very hard that ongoing projects should not be compelled to be registered with the regulator.
All right.
This is going to create a lot of confusion unnecessarily.
All right, Gitambar, please hold on with us, because also joining us on the phone line is Anuj Puri, country head of JLL India. Anuj, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us on this historic day. The RERA bill has been passed by both the lower and the upper house of the parliament. Good, would you say, with all the amendments and the changes that have been suggested to the bill? And more importantly, what is your take on the kind of impact it's likely to have on the real estate industry going forward?
So it is certainly very good. There's no doubt about it.
Okay.
That the bill was required. From a perspective of consumer protection, no doubt about it. I think it was wanting for a very long time. There are certain provisions which, personally, I'm not in agreement with. One of them being not involving the local authorities in any delay that is caused. I just feel is that one of the main constituents where delays can be caused is on the approval of the local authorities, and not making them a part of this bill, to my mind, passes on their responsibility to the developer, which is perhaps not the right thing. But other than that, I feel 2 or 3 things are going to happen. One, in some of the larger cities, you're going to find that the supply will get constrained.
Right. Anuj, this is Faye D'Souza. It's nice to have you on the channel. We've missed you for a while. I know you've been traveling. I have a quick question to you and Gitambar Anand, who's also on the phone line. We've had a couple of views come in that 2 things. The escrow account requirement of 70% and the 5-year warranty, and having to refile everything one more time, that all of this will lead to an increase in prices, at least in the short term. Do you agree, Anuj?
I certainly agree.
What quantum of increase do you expect?
So there will be, say, 2 increases. One will be that the cost of capital, which today the developer was able to secure the capital through the pre-sale, is not going to be possible. Now they will have to go to borrow it from NBFC. That could be anywhere between 16 to 18%. So whatever that quantum that they borrow, 16 to 18%, will necessarily get added to the cost of the project. That's one. Second is, I just believe is that, I overheard Gitambar saying, and I do believe, that many of the developers will start to go slow because, of the paucity of funds, that they'll have to align themselves only to deliver that project. And say what I was saying was, particularly in a city like Bombay, where your cost of construction is no more than 20 to 30%, and you're asking them to put 70% of the money in an escrow. That's 40% of their surplus money that is going to be stuck till the end of the project.
True.
That necessarily takes away the liquidity from the market and inability to expand. And that's where I feel is that's the second hit that we're going to see, is that the supply will get constrained.
Sure. All right. Gitambar Anand, very quickly, same question to you. How much of a quantum of increase do you expect to see because of, of the regulatory bill? Of course, we have to remember that each state will have to bring in a regulator with an appellate tribunal. All of those matters will have to be looked into, notified. We're looking at least a 6 months to a year window before this actually plays out. But Gitambar Anand, what sort of a quantum of increase do you foresee?
See, the thing is that the bill says that those projects which have an OC or which are complete will not be required to register. So I was, this is conversation amongst colleagues. The general thought is we should complete a project and sell it. Now, if that were to happen, then this is what is going to be the result is you won't get, as Anuj said, supply will be very, very, very constrained. And if supply is restricted and people are not manufacturing more, there's going to be an increase in prices, and it's going to be pretty sizable. Why I say this is that, in the bill itself, it says there are, we have, as good developers also, experienced blackmail from some people with malified interests. The bill says that, you can actually be held as a willful defaulter if even a visual representation by a prospective buyer is translated into a complaint, you can be described as a willful defaulter. Now, that can be grossly misused. So why should anybody, given a choice, I would definitely not like to sell before I complete. Yeah.
All right.
And I would like to charge my price on completion, which is going to be at least twice what I would have charged on launch.
On launch. Okay. Yeah. All right. So fair enough. Still some concerns there from the industry and the possibility that we might see higher prices. But Krishna, in the meantime, we have a regulator. I think that's a tremendous step in the right direction. And as we've seen in the past, with every regulator we've seen in this country, there is a period of adjustment and there's a learning curve that happens. But at least I believe we're on the right track. And if responses from industry are taken on board, changes are made, regulators are open to conversation, then we might actually see a far healthier industry going forward.
I would go back to what Venkaiah Naidu was talking about. This bill is going to evolve over a period of time. The hope and prayers are that, while it is good for home buyers and their rights, hopefully we don't have to end up forking out even more to buy our dream homes if supply constraints were to kick in now. But Faye, thank you so much for taking time to be with us here and putting that into perspective. But we need to slip into a short break here on the property news. Coming up on the other side, a Janagraha survey ranks Mumbai as the city with the best administrative system in the country. Pune, Delhi and Bengaluru follow. We'll get you a ground report. Don't go anywhere.